So Bike Committee, we have Dan Ramsey, Susan West, Jim Schutz, Dana Minogue, Nate Day, and Pat Trainer present. So you have a quorum, and feel free to get started whenever you wish, Mr. Chair.
We are going to get started right now at 6 o'clock. So since you've got attendance already, the minutes from March 7th, has everybody had an opportunity to look at them? If there are no changes or questions.
Oh, apparently they're not. Well, that's weird. Oh, I sent them to you, but I forgot to upload them to the packet. Darn it. Do you want me to, anybody want them on the screen? They're posted online too.
Yeah, they were posted.
Does anybody want me to pull them up?
Does anybody need to see them?
No.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Who was
I'll
that?
second.
And we have a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Is that
Opposed?
Dana and Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And it's passed. Okay, the next, our first agenda item is the North Mendota Trail East Segment awarded bid. As you probably got the email that Mark sent out that we have a change of plans. So Mark, you want to give us an update, please?
Oh, sure. I get to say the bad news. So yeah, for the first time in our project engineer, the KL engineers, their experience, this specific project engineer, Bill Beesman, he hasn't had this happen before, but we opened bids at 2 o'clock and there were no bids to open. So there is no low bidder. They are in the process of reaching out to the plan holders, the people who had checked out the plans to look at them and review and presumably get bids ready. And they've already had some preliminary feedback. I sent one of those to you earlier, but let me see what else I can report. Basically, for example, I won't get into who the bidders were, but they were, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's not I mean, they did not submit bids. So, but the people who were expressed we thought were interested, one of them said they were looking for something closer. In other words, they're busy and they were looking for something closer to their headquarters. Another one said, let's see here. Oops, that's the wrong one. That was already that one. Sorry, I've had so many emails about this today and I'm just looking for the one I sent you.
Well, kind of the upshot was the one, they were already busy. The one wanted stuff closer to home. So what we're going to do is
Exactly, that's it.
Get some feedback from our consultant, KL, as to whether or not we go back out to bid and when we go back out to bid. So that's kind of where it's at right now. So we'll just defer this item until we have something new.
Thank you for filling in, Dan. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing one of the reasons given, but those were the two reasons. So, and that was one of the reasons we were having this meeting today, was to hopefully make a recommendation to the council.
So with great disappointment, we'll defer that item and go to the next item.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Item number 2, a road dive, potential road dive for Century Avenue between Parmenter and Donna Drive.
So this is an idea that rattled around in my head a couple months ago. This is the section of Century Avenue between Northbrook Lane and Century Place. It's a drawing that it's not to scale exactly, but it's meant to show the concept of a two-way left turn lane shown in yellow, one travel lane in each direction, and then the green is intended to signify bike lanes. And this cross section is found on several streets in the Madison area now, including Gammon Road and Middleton. Madison recently did this along Odana Road, and then probably one of the best known local examples is Sherman Avenue on the east side. And the sense I have gotten, well, it's more than a sense, just from conversations with various people over the years, is that they have been generally well received. the intent isn't just to accommodate bicycles or to help accommodate bicycles, which I know the jury's out on. For some people would still rather not ride on a bike lane and they'd rather be on a path. But there's a benefit besides that, the bike lanes. It's also that you can put in pedestrian refuges in the middle of the street. So for example, here's a left turn lane, westbound Century turning left onto Northbrook. You're separating the left turn vehicles from the through traffic, which is a good thing to do in terms of allowing through traffic to continue without queuing up. But then on the left side where there's no left turn, I mean on the west side of the intersection where there's no left need to turn left, that can be a pedestrian island, a refuge. So it makes it easier to cross Century Avenue in 2 stages. Same thing at the east side of Century Place. This wouldn't work well at the High Road intersection on Park Street because there's 2 left turn lanes there, but the circumstance would be unchanged from how it is today, where you have 4 lanes of traffic. So it'd still be the same width, but at least there's a traffic signal there and traffic has to stop and people have the option to press the button and walk across the street. Whereas at these 2 intersections on the screen, those are unsignalized. So it's an idea that I suggested and ran by Dane County Highways Department. It's their jurisdiction, and to my pleasant surprise, they are receptive to it. They, however, want to make sure that we do a traffic study that assesses the impact on a street that does carry quite a bit of traffic. Traffic volumes range from 13 to 14,000 according to DOT in 2018. And that's a fair amount of traffic, but guidance that I'm familiar with from over the years of being familiar with this type of road die concept is typically 17, 18, 19,000, depending on who you talk to, is considered when you really where it would break down if you didn't have 4 lanes. And Nate, you would know more about this than I do probably, but so maybe I'll defer further comment on that to you. And then the other thing I was going to add is that if we were to go to this approach, it would help. We have a potential issue with a redevelopment next to Pick and Save, which isn't on the agenda specifically, but it would, just as an example, by having a dedicated, the issue there is that there isn't a dedicated left turn lane to allow future tenants to pull into the driveway. And so the concern that the TIA is showing is that there could be a potential for collisions, rear end collisions. Well, having regardless of which property it is along the corridor, could have the same thing with the duplexes along this corridor where you have a left turning vehicle. Having that 2-way left turn lane can help remove that traffic, that conflict. So, and the last thing I was going to say is the transit redesign is focusing on Century Avenue, it looks like. And what I would foresee is that it would be desirable to establish bump outs for the bus stops. But that level of detail we don't have to get into here tonight. I'm just trying to think ahead in terms of what potential obstacles are. So I just wanted to introduce this to you and get your feedback and see what you think if we should go ahead with exploring this further.
Susan, you have a question?
Yeah, it's from from Parmenter down to Allen Boulevard.
No, we were thinking to the Pick and Save, the Donna Drive, Frank Lloyd Wright intersection. I can pull up another map to show you what I was thinking.
I guess why not down to at least Branch Street even?
The traffic gets heavier. Oops. Oh, I don't need the topography. I had that from an earlier project. So the thing is, the traffic once you get to the east here is well, there's medians. There's islands. Sorry, that
We don't have. Okay,
Yeah.
now we can see it.
Yeah. So once you get to the Pick and Save driveway, there's an island here. There's no reason why you can't keep the island and have a lane in each direction and carry the bike lane along here. So there's no reason you couldn't get to the intersection with Donna and Frank Lloyd Wright. The problem is to the east here, between Frank Lloyd Wright, Donna, between the Middleton Hills entrance and Branch Street, the traffic volumes are heavier. And I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, I think I'd be happy to.
That would be a good idea. I would
Yeah.
like to see it so that people can turn left onto Old Creek Road, and that's where there's a lot of accidents.
Yeah.
Because it's a somewhat blind curve. So I would recommend going all the way to Branch Street at a
As part of the
minimum.
traffic study.
Yes.
I have absolutely no problem with that. I think
And
that's great.
I like this idea now that you explained that there would be that center turn lane, because one of the things that bothers me the most on driving on this is doing a left turn off of it and wondering if you're going to get rear-ended. So this could solve that. And we don't need to do reconstruction of the road because it would just be painting new stripes.
Do the lanes narrow down, Mark, in this area where you have the yellow median?
Well, I don't know that the lanes are any narrower here than they are, at close to Parmenter Street or at, as you approach Pick and Save. But they are 4 lanes wide, the street's 4 lanes wide, and assuming that it's a standard 11-foot width at least, you still would have plenty of room to do this cross section in a 44-foot
Yeah.
right of way.
With
Not right of way, but 44-foot curb to curb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't get into that type of detail. It was just a concept, knowing that this is working, it worked well on Gammon, Sherman, and Odana.
yeah.
I
That's a
think
good
the
idea.
road is wide enough. It's not narrow like that little strip on Gammon where you go up the hill.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
Well, there's no bike lanes there either, though.
Yeah. But the lanes are much wider here.
Even with the new bike lane.
Yeah, there would be room for that. Yeah. I'm just going to Odana Road to see if that air photo is showing. I don't know why the air photo is so slow today. Oh, it doesn't show it yet. So obviously it's very recent. So this is 4 lanes on Odana, and this now has that same cross section. I drove it a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
So they must have done it in the fall.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's not bad now that people are getting used to it.
Yeah.
I think
And
the
then,
one confusing place is when you turn off of Gammon, turn left onto Odana, and you're used to it being 2 lanes, and I think it sort of is when you turn, and then suddenly it's 1 lane.
so here is, it's hard to see here, but this is Sherman Avenue on the east side. And you can see that there's a bike lane north and southbound, and it's hard to see in the middle what kind of, here's somebody turning in the middle, about to make a left turn, I presume. And there was a lot of resistance to this when this was proposed a few years ago on the east side. But I just talked with someone, who was that? Just a few days ago, I ran into someone who said that they liked the idea. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I know where it came from. Terrence Wall, I think, was in his email to you, said that.
Said he liked the Sherman Avenue.
Well, he had written to you on Tuesday, and then I think I was the one who responded to him. But anyway, he is familiar with that side, and so that caused him to change his view and write to you. I relayed the message to you earlier, that he was receptive to the idea. But he's not a road, he doesn't design roads, but he's a traveler of them like we all are. So anyway, it sounds like that you're receptive. Anybody have concerns with the idea?
What is the on-street parking situation down closer to Parmenter with all the duplexes?
There is no
No
longer any on-street parking. That was removed by the city 5+ years ago.
Oh,
At
that
least.
long ago. Okay.
Howard Teal actually, it was his district, and he
It was probably
pushed to
about
have it
6 or
removed.
7 years ago.
Yeah.
Been a while.
Yeah. I think this also will make it safer for kids to cross at High Road possibly. We've got kids from middle school and high school coming across Century at High Road.
Well, and as we continue to develop along that corridor and along Parmenter, we're going to have people from the new multifamily units on Parmenter walking to the Pick and Save. So, this is going to be become much more of a residential corridor. So Mark, what do you need from us then? I think that is the consensus of the committee that we're interested in learning more about this and exploring this option. Is
Yeah,
that a fair
I think,
assessment?
well, we'll need to do a traffic study, and we haven't budgeted for that. So I think that should be that could be a budget proposal when we work on the budget this summer. The other thing, Dan, is you could, well, we could check with, if you'd like, I could check with our Public Works Department to see if there's any available funds. You know, now that things are being shuffled around, maybe there's some money that the council would repurpose for that for this year.
Mark, for part of it, there have been some traffic studies done in this area. I mean, there was one being done for, I think, Belfontaine that looked at some of these intersections. There certainly is one that's been done for the Madison Development Corporation building. So could we look at some of those? And then there was one a little while back, but not that long ago, for Stagecoach.
But
Or
none
is
of
it-
them,
Okay, I see. It needs to be specific for the 2 lane.
yeah, none of them, I'm sure, would have studied this concept because we didn't
Right.
identify that.
That's true.
Yeah, we're gonna need a new one.
Yeah, and Sean, I mean, I think I got the sense from Sean that we'd be talking, you know, we'd be talking the low 5 figures at most, is the sense I got from him. So I mean, we don't know exactly how much it would cost, but it's something we can investigate. And what I'm hearing is there's general support for the concept, and that you're asking me to, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. If someone would like to make a motion, or
I
provide
would,
direction.
I would make a motion that we ask the Finance Committee and Council to fund in the next budget cycle a traffic impact analysis for this, going from Parmenter all the way down to Pheasant Branch.
To Branch Street, you mean?
Yeah, to Branch Street.
All right, do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
All right,
Justina.
okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That carries. We
And I
move
just
on
want to note that we have additional participants here. Oh, Katie's gone now. She was just here.
Yep,
Okay, but Peter, you're here. Okay. Thank you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay,
we're still good.
Yep.
Okay, the next item is the Acre Farm subdivision, concept review.
Bruce Morrow, representing the developer, is present. And what I'll do is I'll show you on the screen the concept that was referred to the committee. The Acre Farm subdivision is between High Road and is north of town between High Road and Pheasant Branch Road, just immediately east of the Middleton Ridge or Misty Valley subdivision. So just when you go down the hill in the countryside, as you start climbing again, it's there on the on the ridge between Misty Valley and Pheasant Branch Conservancy. And so the Planning Commission and I think a couple other committees now have given their initial feedback. And so this is your chance to weigh in on ped bike and transit issues. And like I said, Bruce is it Bruce or is it Ben?
Yep, it's Bruce.
It's Bruce, okay.
Yep, and I'm here to answer any questions and listen to your input. And I live just off Sherman, and I like the new 3-lane.
Oh,
road.
good.
Good to hear.
Yes.
Okay, so Mark, do you want to give us, or can we get just a kind of a quick overview of refresh the committee's recollection? Are there any bike paths or proposed city bike paths going in here that
Yeah.
we need to connect through
That would have
this
been-
development?
It would have been a very good idea to have the bike plan up I'm working on that now while you look at that.
I have it if you want.
Oh, okay, excellent. You have the city's bike plan?
Yeah, well, the
Okay.
one that goes across there, if I can share my screen here.
I'll pull something else up too.
So,
In
okay,
case you don't have
you
the
have to
same-
enable my sharing ability.
Oh, I thought. There you go.
So. I gotta move you guys off. You probably don't want to see yourself twice, right? Can you see my screen here?
Yeah.
We can,
Yeah.
thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I was gonna pull up. Thank you.
Right here is the bike plan, right? This is the one,
Thank you.
right? So the yellow is our development from the bike plan.
Okay,
And this is an on-road bike path. I mean, a off-road bike path along Belfontaine. This is the proposed trail across the north side. At one time, it was about here in the bike plan, but they moved it up here by the parking lot at the other acre farm.
And
Area.
let me just interject. The reason for that is because when when Dane County decided to buy the acre farm, the acres that were east of Pheasant Branch Road,
Right
when
here.
they bought those acres from the acres, there's the old driveway entrance to that farmstead is roughly where this path is shown. They built a little trailhead there. And so I proposed last year as part of our comprehensive plan to just bring the path that goes east-west across North Lake, the north side of North Lake subdivision, to bring that up to that trailhead. It just seemed to make sense. I will say that there are some people who advocate to have that path be even farther north, to take it up to Belfontaine, so it goes around the Conservancy altogether. But this is something the city has officially mapped now, relocating the path up to here. And we expect, as land develops, that the property, that the developers accommodate our path system. So this, Bruce, what you just described is very much on track with what the city envisions for bicycle path connectivity.
So I can unshare my screen, or I can go
Okay.
to the level, or whatever you want
Thank
to do
you.
here.
Well,
Yep.
why don't you, why don't you show your development again and describe more of the path along Belfontaine? Do you have any drawings
Okay.
that show?
So this is, we're gonna have a main path along Belfontaine here. Then we're gonna have a network of paths within our system. Our hope is to kind of tie this to Pheasant Branch Conservancy. I mean, that's a big asset for the development. We want to try to pull that area into our site. So there's an overhead easement here line, and we're going to have a path along there. And then it kind of reaches up into the neighborhood here. We have it reach up into the neighborhood this way and into this kind of, so the senior living development could have it, and it could connect to anything future that happens up here. Then we have this park network we connect to here, and we connect across here. This, we have a path showing here, some other, like we was said, we've met with many committees. You're the last of 6 or 7 now that we've met with. And they suggested that we just have the path along here. But these are more internal trails that would all connect to the bigger trail system.
What kind of width are you, what kind of surface and width are you thinking for those trails?
I don't think those trails have been defined yet at all. So at this point, we have not defined those. I think there could be a varying width depending what the connection is, you know,
Okay.
the size of the connection.
Typically the paths, you know, something considered a bike path with a paved surface is typically 10 feet wide.
Right.
I see that, you know, other communities, Wanakee has been putting a path along some of their roadways, and the standard is pretty typically 12 feet, or I'm sorry, 10 feet.
10. Yeah, we would do 10 along Belfontaine for sure, you know.
Yeah. And frankly, some communities, especially with higher volume bike paths, are going to a 12-foot. You know, I think in Madison, there's a push for that.
There's a lot
Right.
of push for that. Just push from DOT for that. I designed some stuff for DOT too. So
Okay.
it's 12 foot. is
They're
pretty
looking at
common.
12 too now as a standard?
Not as a standard, but in heavier places, they encourage 12.
Yeah.
Like I know Sheboygan just put in all 12 to their system. maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago now.
Are those more multi-purpose paths that are 12?
I think they're just heavier travel paths.
Okay.
8 foot is a minimum path.
Okay.
Standard.
So you're projecting to go through your development, a 10-foot path.
10 foot along the side of Belfontaine.
And then
The other ones have not been defined yet. We haven't really discussed the size of those. This is a concept plan. This is early on in the phase and we're looking for input. Some people we've talked to could, they wanted, their talk was just about this path here, and other people
Sure.
want more. We want a network that's connected. We think it's very important to connect our neighborhood as a whole.
And
for pedestrians.
yeah, and I personally like that idea of the inter-neighborhood connections like that. I think that's a good idea. Susan?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch just a tad off of bikes to pedestrians. You've got a senior living area, and I will say it's really important to have a good way for seniors actually to even get into the conservancy. Just because it's a senior living area does not mean they don't want to walk around. And this has been an issue in Middleton Hills with Middleton Glen not having a good way to get to the conservancy. And there are plenty of seniors that do walk all the sidewalks and so on. So definitely making the sidewalks wide enough with enough terrace for them to feel safe is really important. And I would also suggest some alleys being put in. It takes a lot of the traffic off of the streets and the parking.
So we do have alleys. These are smaller houses at the top. This lighter gray is alleyways.
Oh, okay, that's good.
And this orange is townhouses. Those would be alleys along the backside of the townhouses. There's not an alley shown here. Kind of feeding those. These
Okay.
yellow are, and there's this path that connects the seniors down to here. So this is, the senior is kind of the internal development isn't done yet, but we have this connection that they can connect to get down
Okay.
to the whole network. These are what are called cottage homes, and they'll be like small houses that face either the street or greenway, and those will be alley fed also.
Okay. Another suggestion, and this is based on Middleton Hills, so Mark, you're familiar with it, is a central mailbox area. It brings people together and encourages them to walk or bike. And I did show Chad the other day, the Middleton Hills one.
Okay, yeah, I'm aware that exists.
Yeah, it's, I think, a really good asset for the neighborhood.
Post office likes it too.
Yeah.
Yes, the post office loves it.
If we can forego another 1 cent increase, maybe,
Yeah, but it really brings people together.
What is the distance between or from the retirement living and the park?
I don't know the exact distance. I don't have it measured. I could measure it. This distance, for example, between the roads is 300 feet. That's 300 feet, just as a scale number.
Okay.
So there'll be remember, there's a pathway right along this path here. So depending where you are in the senior area, it's, I'd say 500-600 feet.
I'm
Okay.
measuring it too at the moment. So he's talking about to the conservancy or to
No,
which?
to this park up here. I think.
To
To
is what
the
that
I'm
park
talking
up there.
Okay.
Is,
Yeah, 5 or maybe a little bit more.
is the main park going to be partly natural, or is it going to be swing sets and soccer fields?
The park is up to the residents. We don't design the park. The park is, when we were talking to Parks and Matt, the park will be designed by the city, and the city uses input from the residents. He does not think it will be soccer fields. It's because it's really a neighborhood park, and that
Yeah.
was his comment. But again, it's design, it's the input. The design of the park is based on input from the neighborhoods, and you don't have neighbors to
Okay.
design it yet.
I guess I would say the senior citizens like more the conservancy type of area.
Mhm.
Well,
So,
I think, Susan, that it's gonna end up, there's gonna be a lot of different user groups, so I think it'll
Yeah.
end up,
it'll need
No,
to be,
the-
I just want to be sure it's just not all soccer fields and swing sets.
I don't think because of the size of it and the fact that it's a neighborhood park that it'll get into just the soccer fields. But that's a very good point. We want to make sure that it's usable and wanted to be used by all user groups.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all eight, the whole age range, not
Yep.
just under 20.
So that's not designed by this group? It's
Sure.
part of this
No,
development. But
Yeah,
we've given them prime land. And we've met with Parks and we're gonna be, we're gonna submit a final plan later at some point, to the submittal process. And we're listening to other committees and we're looking at ways to add more park space.
And there'll be a lot of public engagement when it comes time to start planning the park, just like we've done with some of our
Yeah.
other ones. So, are there any other questions or comments for Bruce?
I just want to make one comment, which I should have made at the outset, and that is that Belfontaine Boulevard, we don't envision that being a 4-lane road anymore. I don't know how many of you know that. The council has decided to, it's important to have a continuous road going across the north side, but not to have it be a 4-lane road. Is that a fair summary, Susan and Dan?
yes.
It is a very good summary.
And at Public Works, we put in some tighter curves to help slow down the traffic. So I think there was some 300-foot radii in there to make it a little curvier. So that's something else you could think about.
Yeah, especially for that one road that's the kind of the long stretch that goes all the way. And I
This
don't know
one?
what that, yeah, I don't know what that distance is, but in some of the longer roads like that, you get a little bit of speed going sometimes.
Well,
So-
especially
Maybe we
Belfontaine,
can-
because that one's going to be close to the seniors, the park.
And street widths, the way the road is designed is a key part to this too, right? They're not designing
Right.
36-foot wide. We're not designing suburban streets anymore, I presume, Bruce.
Yeah.
We'll talk with Public Works. Public
Right.
Works said it'd be the same cross section as the existing Belfontaine.
Okay, well, Belfontaine for the Bell Farms is 2 lanes. And I think parking on each side, and that's the one that has the 300-degree axis curves and 450. So we had to change the ordinance a little bit or allow an exception.
Mhm.
The idea
think-
is to slow traffic.
So I think
Hey.
this is what they wanted us to match. We need to verify that, but they said.
Yeah, I would match what Bell Farms has.
One more comment, which I haven't heard, Bruce, I don't think you've mentioned it. One thing we really asked for at the staff level, and which they have accommodated, is this idea of connecting with future development to the south here. There's where it's the gray area. Oh,
Right
actually,
here.
I'm not sharing my screen.
Yeah,
So
This area right here.
So initially they didn't have linkages to that undeveloped area. And in the interest of grids for walking and biking, we urge them to do that, and they are accommodating that. We are pleased with that. Same with to the north. It looks to me like it would be very easy to extend the 3 streets. Any of those 3 streets could extend due west and become that would become a 4-way intersection. And so from a neighborhood connectivity standpoint, we're really pleased with that. That makes it
And
more
the-
walkable.
And then there's sidewalk requirements along this side. Someone has mentioned to us
Yep.
also.
Okay, Susan, did you have something else?
No, do I still have?
Yeah, no worries.
It's hard to find on an iPad.
Well, you know, I'm using a different computer and then everything's in a different place and who knows where anything is.
Right.
Any other questions or comments? Mark, do we need, is this just for developer information?
Yeah,
Or do
what
we
have
need
have other committees made motions? I could look that up quickly.
No, they haven't,
No,
that
Okay,
I
it's just been
recall.
feedback. All right,
Yeah, it's just feedback.
Yeah. And, you
Susan's
know,
been
I'll-
on a lot of them. She might know. I don't remember any
I don't think
motions.
we've made any motions.
yeah, there's no,
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. We'll, you know, I will document your feedback. I mean, there wasn't anything really here that you generally are pleased with the concept and how they're you know, how they're making it more pedestrian friendly. So, okay,
Very good. Thanks, Bruce.
All right, thank you for your
Appreciate it.
time and input.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, our last item is.
oh, he's gonna stop sharing. So I need to
Okay.
go back to my,
There you go.
you don't see it yet though, right? I have to share.
Nope, I see you.
Oh, then let me share as quickly as possible. So the last agenda item is, oh yeah, the city policy
go.
regarding bicycle registrations. And I don't
And-
see the police chief here, but the material he sent me is fairly self-explanatory. Let me just see where that is. It starts right here. So evidently the Public Safety Committee has been discussing the idea of, one of their members raised the concern about, we have an ordinance that requires people to register their bicycles, and apparently not many people in the community are doing it. And so his concern centers on the fact that we have an ordinance, but it's not being followed. And maybe it should be, the ordinance should either be enforced or it should be changed to a strongly encourage or recommend type of regulate. Well, that wouldn't be a regulation. Here's the ordinance in your packet. And then I also, and then here's a report on bicycle registrations per year. And as you can see, we actually went up a little bit from 2020, but 37 registrations in a community of 21,000. I suspect there's a few more bicycles in
Yeah.
being purchased than that. So really the main advantage for registering your bicycle, it helps identify, if it's found, it helps identify the owner. I think I gave you an email. Maybe I didn't. I thought I had a memo in here that, maybe that was in an email I sent you. Links to, what was it up here? Oh, did I send you something with links to a couple of national websites?
Yes.
Oh, it was in an email from a resident, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so links to a couple national websites where you can register your bicycle. So that's just the background I have. I would invite the police chief would like your thoughts on this.
Is in my estimation, in my opinion, if people want to register their bikes, fine. It only helps them if it gets stolen, I guess, but I don't know that. I'm really not sure that we need to start enforcing it.
I'm wondering why we even have it.
Yeah, it
seems like a lot of staff time potentially.
The only advantage to having a registry is if the police department does pick up a bicycle that they find abandoned or whatever, you know, kind of like a stray puppy, they can find out who it belongs to. So if there's there are folks that want to register, and I don't know how much, it certainly is not going to take up too much staff time if we only have 37 bikes registered.
That's true.
I mean, it's a slip of paper in somebody's desk drawer. So I have no problem having it, but I don't think that as a city or municipality, we need to worry about enforcing it, but that's my opinion. Does anybody have a different opinion than that?
would it be possible, I mean, for an individual to register with this, a national organization, and then the police would have access to that and leave Middleton out as the middleman altogether?
There seems to be,
As long as Middleton has access to the national site, then yeah, I think
Yeah.
anybody can register on it. The only advantage of having one local is that if you know, you're somebody local, lost your bike, you might get it back a little faster.
are you seeing what's on the screen here?
Yes.
So these are the two links that I found based on the email that we got that I forwarded to you from, let's give the gentleman credit here. Jason Rush. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't gone through these, but it seems very intuitive. It's basically, you know, I don't know if these sites then use your information for marketing and you know, who knows how that works. But it seems like if people want to protect their investment, their mode of transportation, you know, there's incentive to register it for yourself. Right? The police don't necessarily need this, you know, it's not needed to, you know, it's not needed for safety reasons. I mean, I suppose the only advantage for registering is if there's a crash involving a bicyclist and the person's not wearing ID or something, I suppose they could identify the, you know, the person based on the bicycle, you know, like kind of like a license. But, you know, it's too bad the chief's not here. Would appreciate his perspective on that. By the way, Ken Markert has joined
Yeah,
us.
I sorry, a little late here. We're celebrating a birthday. How many bicycles have been stolen in Middleton? Do we have any idea in the past? Is this a problem in the city?
So the data is over the last
Okay, I'm sorry.
5 years, you can see the data here.
Okay,
So in 21, there was a little bit of a jump. There were 13 stolen.
But only 4 bikes that were stolen were recovered out of about 45 bikes.
Yeah,
So 10% recovery rate.
not great.
And I don't know if that's based on, I guess the assumption here is that that's based on the ones that were registered. I don't know if that's the implication here or if that's,
Yeah, I think it's based on the registered. But it doesn't take up any staff time. It's all done online on the website. So it's basically just a list of people that registered their bikes. So
And
was
how do you keep it up to date?
well, it doesn't, it's non-expiring, so it would just stay. Was the chief's concern that, or public safety committee's concern that they weren't enforcing this and making people register their bikes? Whether they thought that they should?
so the individual on the committee said they thought it would be more appropriate to change the ordinance to make the registration an optional task. But the other option is to have more publicity to promote bicycle registrations among city residents. I wasn't part of the meeting. I didn't go back and listen to the discussion, so I'm not sure if there was any other discussion. So
Well,
anyway,
because I guess the next question is, if you're going to make it optional, what's the purpose of an ordinance?
Yeah,
You don't need an
that's what I'm
ordinance
thinking.
for making it optional. So maybe if this committee doesn't really have an opinion one way or another, maybe we should refer it to LNO to take a look at it and see whether or not we even should have an ordinance.
you could make that as a recommendation, as a motion, if you have that conclusion, and then LNO can take that up, like you said.
Dan, I would make that motion.
Okay,
I would second it.
all right. We have a motion and a second. Any
To
other
specifically
comments?
just to refer it, or is there an opinion you want to express in the motion?
Susan?
I'm having a hard time seeing the purpose of it.
It's the same as what I feel. I don't see why there should be an ordinance. I think maybe it should be a service that's available.
But I don't know that it needs to be an ordinance. I mean, the police department does a lot of services, like you can get your kids fingerprinted and actual video of them, so that, which you keep in case they're ever abducted or anything, that could be made available, but that's a service. And I see this sort of the same way.
So did you get that, Mark?
So I'm hearing that you're basically recommending to LNO that it should become, that it should not be, that the ordinance isn't needed anymore, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes,
Correct.
I haven't heard you explicitly say that, but I think that's what you're saying as part of your
that's
motion.
what I'm saying.
Okay. So to recommend or to advise the LNO committee that, or to recommend that the LNO committee consider this,
Deleting the ordinance.
limit, yeah, or end
Deleting.
that as a,
Rescinding.
Rescinding.
okay.
Whichever proper legal word you're supposed to use, they all work.
I can't think, or
Sunsetting.
to rescind
Sunsetting
the
the
ordinance. How about to rescind the ordinance? Is that what you'd like me to use?
Yes.
All right, do we have any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. I think that was the last.
Yeah.
Of our agenda items. I'd like to take just a moment before we adjourn and say thank you to Alder Susan West for her time on Bike and Ped. We have really appreciated what you've brought to Bike and Ped, especially with helping us out with the things that from Public Works. It's the last year is I've really appreciated the guidance and the suggestions you've come with your Public Works experience, Susan. So thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Great
night.
evening. Night now.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Sorry for being a little late here, Mark.